1904, 40 years before the Holocaust. In a desert in southern Africa, Germany was already building concentration camps. It was issuing written extermination orders. It was conducting medical experiments on human beings. The doctor who ran those experiments, who sent skulls back to universities in Berlin for racial science research, later taught his theories to Nazi doctors. The Holocaust didn't come from nowhere. It was practiced here, first, on the Herero and Nama people of what is now Namibia, and almost nobody knows their names. This part never makes it into the textbooks. To understand what happened, you have to understand what Germany wanted. In 1884, at the Berlin Conference, the same conference where Leopold claimed the Congo, Germany was given Southwest Africa. This is modern-day Namibia. The land was home to several groups. The largest two were the Herero and the Nama. They were cattle farmers and pastoralists, people who had lived on this land for centuries. Germany wanted the land, not the people. The first governor, Theodor Ludwig, used a divide-and-rule strategy, forcing Herero and Nama tribes to sign treaties against each other. He kept them too busy fighting each other to notice what was being built around them. Then the settlers arrived. They took land, they stole cattle. They imposed forced labor. They used an unequal legal system that gave Germans rights and denied rights to Africans. By 1903, the Herero had lost most of their grazing land. They had one choice left. On January 12, 1904, Herero chief Samuel Maharero launched a surprise uprising. It was initially stunning. 123 German settlers were killed. Farms were destroyed, supplies were seized. Maharero specifically ordered that women, children, missionaries, and non-German whites be spared. This was not indiscriminate violence. This was targeted, deliberate, a desperate attempt to force the colonizers to leave. The German colonial garrison was overwhelmed and humiliated. Berlin was furious. They didn't send a diplomat. They sent Lieutenant General Lothar von Trotha, a man with a specific reputation. Von Trotha had suppressed uprisings in German East Africa and in China during the Boxer Rebellion. His method was always the same: total annihilation. Von Trotha arrived in June 1904. He immediately refused all negotiations. By August 11, his forces surrounded the Herero at the Waterberg Plateau. 50,000 Herero, men, women, children, livestock, all gathered in one place. The German encirclement was designed to leave one gap open, facing the Amahek Desert. Von Trotha wanted them to run into the desert because the desert would finish them, so his soldiers wouldn't have to. The Herero ran, and the desert did exactly what von Trotha intended. German patrols were stationed along the entire desert perimeter, hundreds of kilometers of outposts to prevent anyone from turning back. Water holes were poisoned, block destroyed. Entire families died within sight of water they could not reach. In just a few weeks, thousands died of thirst and starvation in the sand. But von Trotha wasn't finished. On October 2, 1904, he read out his order at a remote desert waterhole called Asambozo Windimp, the Vernichtungsbefehl, the extermination order, the first written extermination order in the history of modern warfare. It stated, every Herero found inside German borders, armed or unarmed, with or without cattle, will be shot. Women and children will be driven back into the desert or shot. No exceptions, no prisoners, no mercy. The order stood for 2 months. The Kaiser eventually rescinded it, not out of conscience, but because the Chancellor warned it was becoming an international embarrassment. By then, it didn't matter. The killing was already systematic. The infrastructure was already built. What replaced the extermination order was in some ways worse. Concentration camps. The Germans called them Konzentrationslager, a direct translation of the British term, used in the Boer War. Survivors of the desert, starved, broken, dying of thirst, were herded into enclosures. Shark Island was the worst, a windswept peninsula near Lüderitz. Prisoners worked as slave labor, building the railway that would carry the colony's wealth back to Germany. The mortality rate at Shark Island was between 47 and 74%. People were starved deliberately. Medical care was withheld deliberately. The cold Atlantic wind killed those the starvation didn't. Women faced systematic sexual violence by German soldiers. Then a doctor arrived. His name was Eugen Fischer. Fischer was a racial scientist. He was interested in what happened when people of different races had children. The women in the concentration camps, many pregnant from systematic rape, gave him his research subjects. He studied the children. He measured their skulls. He cataloged their features. His conclusion that mixed-race children were inferior to their German fathers was published as legitimate science. Skulls were collected from the camps, shipped back to German universities, measured, cataloged, studied. For years. In 2018, Germany finally returned some of those skulls to Namibia, 114 years later. But here is the detail that connects everything. Eugen Fischer's research caught the attention of a young politician in Germany in the 1920s. That politician read Fischer's work, cited it, was influenced by it. His name was Adolf Hitler. When the Nazi regime came to power, Fischer became head of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute of Anthropology, Human Heredity, and Eugenics. He taught his racial theories to Nazi doctors, the same doctors who would later run the medical experiments of the Holocaust. The first genocide of the 20th century didn't just precede the Holocaust. It provided the intellectual framework for it. This part never makes it into the textbooks. By 1908, when the genocide officially ended, between 40,000 and 80,000 Herero had been killed, 80% of their entire population. 10,000 Nama, half of theirs. The Herero went from 80,000 people to 16,000. Those who survived were stripped of all land rights. They were forbidden from owning cattle, the foundation of their entire culture and economy. They were forced into permanent servitude. What had been their homeland became a labor reserve for German settlers. Germany did not formally acknowledge this as a genocide until 2021, 117 years later. And even then, the deal was controversial. 1.1 billion euros were paid as development aid. Not reparations, not legally. Germany explicitly rejected any legal responsibility. Herero and Nama descendants were not consulted in the negotiations. A Nama descendant named Ms. Leupert said, Why is Germany willing to talk to groups all over the world affected by the Holocaust? But when it comes to the Herero and Nama, they won't engage. Is it because we are black? Germany still has not issued a formal apology. The skulls sent back in 2018 arrived without ceremony, without acknowledgement, without the word genocide spoken aloud. The Herero and Nama genocide sits at the intersection of everything this channel is about. It is the story of what happens when a continent is carved up by men in European capitals with no regard for the people living there. It is the story of resistance. Samuel Maharero and Hendrik Witbooi, who fought against impossible odds. It is the story of a lie, that some lives matter less than others. Taken to its logical conclusion, it is the story of a connection most history books refuse to draw between a desert in Namibia in 1904 and the death camps of Europe 40 years later. Same ideology, same methods, same doctors, different victims, until there weren't. This has been the unwritten records, the stories they don't put in textbooks, the records they'd rather you didn't find. Subscribe because the next one is just as dark.